This is the Pacific Way podcast, bringing you stories that matter to the Pacific people.
We're already experiencing it. Sea level rise is the one that you can see visually. So now that causes erosion of our coastlines. It floods our taro swamps, so it affects our fruit production. The other thing that we see is more frequency of storms. Those storms have caused destruction. Our homes weren't built to survive the typhoon, so now more homes getting destroyed, schools. We've had entire islands, every home destroyed and a school destroyed. So that's what we're living with now. We're also have the effects of the warming oceans. Fish stocks declining, coral reefs being bleached.
Those are the facts stated by the Honorable Surenheld S. Whips Jr., the President of Palau, a nation on the front line of the impacts of climate change, as he spoke at the 8th Our Oceans Conference hosted in Panama City, Panama in early March 2023. As the world grapples with the climate emergency, island nations and low-lying countries face an even more significant challenge in responding to the crises. Not only must they deal with the threat of rising sea levels, but also the potential for increased ocean acidification and the threat of extreme weather events. The Pacific Community, or SPC, was present at Our Ocean Conference 2023 to support and represent Pacific countries and territories in promoting an enhanced access to science, sound policy advice, and financing for a more sustainable ocean. Representing Vanuatu, which is one of the most vulnerable nations in the South Pacific, was Special Envoy on Climate Change Bakau Kaltonga, who shared the impacts his country is facing.
Well, we are seeing a lot of acidification of the corals, and we are losing a lot of corals, and that this is a factor of the climate change being whereby the precipitation are causing, and the pollution is causing too much acidification of the sea, and causing a lot of destruction of coral, and at the rate where that is going, it's possible that, and we're already experiencing the loss of coastal drinking waters because of acidification, and we're also seeing an issue that is going to come up with food security, because the loss of corals is also loss of marine life, and the difficulty in establishing the food security that marine life provides us, and balances with the land-based food security. So these are the sort of things that we're already experiencing in Vanuatu, and apart from sea level rise as well. So coastal erosions, having problems with acidification and coral bleaching, and also we're having problems with losses of marine lives, and the possible that it also affects some food securities, and that's including Vanuatu economically relying on the tuna stock as well. These sorts of issues and climate change crises cause our tuna stock to leave our 200 miles economies, and the loss of there's an economic loss macroeconomically for Vanuatu. So that is actually the essence of what the problems Vanuatu is facing at the moment.
As the most significant ocean states, Pacific countries do not only have a responsibility to promote ocean conservation, but ensure future leaders are passionate about the sustainable use of ocean resources. Youth leaders from around the world were present to voice their concerns to world leaders. From Tuvalu, Tuitala Lasifo believes a united voice of youth is vital to ensure decision makers keep the momentum going to protect our oceans.
It is very important for us young people to come together. Listening to these young people from all over the world, getting to know different stories, their different stories, and what they have done, and what their ambitions, their passion for the ocean, protecting the ocean, and how they can make sure that the ocean is in good health. It's very interesting, and the network that we have built and the knowledge that we have shared it gives us more energy and more ideas on how we can, when we go back home, on how we can contribute in our own ways, especially making our engaging in our community and helping them, the community awareness programs, in letting them know that of ways that we can help in protecting our ocean. Listening to one of the key speakers yesterday, our SOA Sustainable Ocean Alliance, the leader, it's very interesting how she was affected by the, but being a young leader, trying to give ideas, to the leaders, to the current leaders, on how we as young people will be affected by what they are doing now in the future. So it is our part now to, as young people, to look after the ocean, because we are the ones that if 2050 come, that whatever happens in the future, we are the one who will be affected, and our children. So it is mostly our part to play now.
Reshma Ram from Fiji was astounded to discover that many world leaders who advocate to protect their nations against the impacts of climate change have never ever seen the ocean to understand its importance to the Pacific people.
I actually found out from this ocean summit that a few ocean leaders who have never seen the ocean, like literally have never seen the ocean, from Nepal and from these countries who are surrounded by mountains and terrains, are into ocean conservation. So it made me realize that how important ocean is for us, because we are in the Fiji, the Pacific Islands, we are surrounded by the ocean. I got into ocean conservation because in the Pacific Islands, as we know, that we are facing a lot of issues, such as in terms of climate change and what our ocean is facing in terms of climate change and depletion of like our ocean resources, and blue economy in the sense that we are trying to integrate blue economy and tourism together in that form, and also how our livelihoods depend mostly on the ocean resources. So we are, as we know, in the Pacific Islands and also in Fiji, we are surrounded by the ocean. And our main source of protein is from the ocean resources itself, the marine species, for example, fish. So we need to have some sort of sustainability in terms of ocean resources so that we can have the availability of resources for our future.
SPC's Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability Program has been working with member states over the years to develop marine protection policies and legislations based on individual country needs, while ensuring gender inclusivity in policy making. For instance, in Papua New Guinea, work is underway to declare marine protected areas through the voices of women and the vulnerable communities.
As a female marine biologist, I feel that a lot of women's voices are not being heard in large conferences such as our ocean conference. So it's a privilege, representing women's voices here at our ocean conference. And I feel that women can contribute a lot to find solutions to better tackle ocean conservation issues. So in PNG, currently, one of the major issues that we're facing apart from climate change is we don't have a lot of marine protected areas. Currently, PNG has like less than 1% of MPAs. And that's something that I'm advocating for, the creation of more locally managed marine protected areas to support the 30 by 30 goal of having at least 30% of our coastal and marine areas protected before 2030. MPAs can protect our biodiversity by increasing fish supplies to areas that are open to fishing. So, because in the Pacific, we have a lot of fishermen. Most of our people depend on the marine resources to sustain their livelihoods. Setting aside an MPA in the Pacific is a good way to increase fisheries supplies to the areas that are open to fishing.
Representatives from each country shared their successes, such as implementing the Palau National Marine Sanctuary and the Vavau Ocean Initiative in Tonga. At the 8th Our Oceans Conference, Palau also announced the launch of the Marine Spatial Planning Process, a 3-year project to ensure sustainable ocean planning, and reaffirmed the country's commitment to conserving biodiversity while providing new opportunities to its communities. SPC's fisheries scientist Marino Wickman highlighted the importance of technical and scientific data provided to member states to be able to formulate effective and efficient policy-making decisions for member states.
So our Oceans Conference in Panama really has seen the true spirit of unity amongst Pacific Island countries. We see this, on a day-to-day basis. It's something that unifies the Pacific. We may be from different regions, whether it's Melanesia, Micronesia, or Polynesia. One thing is for sure is that the ocean connects and binds us all. It's a primary source for food, for revenue, for cultural subsistence. So I think it's quite appropriate that we have a theme that really does exemplify the way the Pacific operates. So SPC is actively engaged with Palau's MSP process. We're part of several, bodies within the MSP architecture. SPC is actively engaged within the steering committee. This body effectively provides the high-level advice amongst the various working groups, but also reports directly to the executive committee that will endorse a lot of the recommendations that pass through the working groups through the steering committee and hopefully for endorsement by Congress. SPC is also engaged with the project management team, so we have been liaising closely with Palau government themselves and have been meeting on a regular basis to ensure that the MSC process is sticking to certain timeframes that were adopted by the president of Palau. So SPC is involved with several data improvement plans, particularly when we look at ocean science, tuna. We know that accurate and reliable data is vital for ensuring that we have the most up-to-date, reliable information that feeds into a lot of the regional stock assessments that SPC undergoes on a yearly basis. In the offshore fisheries program, there is the data management section, which has a number of initiatives that ensure that SPC is collecting reliable, timely data that members provide and SPC uses to undergo these important assessments.
The islands and territories of the Pacific continue to make a collective effort on the world stage for leaders to recognize and commit to protect and preserve the region's most valuable resource, the ocean that binds all Pacific Islands people.
The Pacific Way is made possible by the member states of the Pacific Community. Additional support is provided by the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, the New Zealand Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and the Government of France.